The emergency alarm pierced through the silence of the Interstellar Defense Command Center as Admiral Sarah Mitchell watched her screen in disbelief. Across 17 star systems, the same impossible sight was being reported. Entire fleets of the most advanced alien civilizations in the galaxy, retreating in absolute terror from what appeared to be a single golden retriever named Buddy. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Cosmic Assembly Hall stretched across 3 kilometers of crystalline architecture, its bioluminescent walls pulsing with the rhythm of 1,000 different alien heartbeats. Representatives from 49 galactic civilizations had gathered for what many considered the most significant legislative session in universal history. At the center of the vast chamber, floating on a platform of pure energy, stood Chancellor Vexthari of the Andromeda Coalition, her 6 arms gesturing dramatically as she addressed the assembled delegates. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice amplified through quantum resonance fields that translated her words into every known language simultaneously. "Today we address a threat so profound, so dangerous to the stability of our peaceful cosmos, that immediate action is required." Senator Kralthon of the Vega Prime territories shifted his massive bulk, his crystalline carapace reflecting the chamber's ambient light in patterns of skeptical amusement. "Chancellor, with respect, we've faced the void swarms, conquered the nebula pirates, and established peace treaties with the silicon hive minds. What threat could possibly warrant such dramatic language?" The holographic displays surrounding the chamber activated, showing images that caused ripples of confusion throughout the assembled crowd. There, in vivid detail, were scenes from a small blue planet on the outer rim of an unremarkable spiral. Galaxy, humans walking alongside 4-legged creatures, small furry beings sleeping in human dwellings, and most disturbing of all, humans showing obvious emotional attachment to these alien life forms. "Behold," Chancellor Vexthari announced, "the barbaric practice of species enslavement that the primitive world known as Earth has normalized. They call it pet ownership, but our xenobiological analysis teams have confirmed the horrifying truth. Humans have captured, bred, and enslaved countless innocent creatures for their own entertainment." Ambassador Zixtel from the Proxima Centauri Republic stood up, her translucent form shimmering with indignation. "The universal laws are clear. No sentient species may hold dominion over another. The practice is an abomination to everything our galactic community stands for." Director Thompson of Earth's newly established Interstellar Relations Department rose from his seat in the designated observer section, his face flushed with a mixture of anger and bewilderment. "With all due respect, Chancellor, you've completely misunderstood the relationship between humans and our companion animals. These aren't enslaved beings. They're family members, partners, friends who have chosen to share their lives with us. Through thousands of years of mutual evolution." The chamber erupted in waves of disapproving sounds, chittering, harmonized tones, electromagnetic pulses of disdain. General Mordak of the Rigel War Council slammed his energy staff against the floor, creating ripples of force that silenced the crowd. "Family members, you speak of lesser creatures as equals? Next, you'll claim they have individual names and preferences." Director Thompson felt his temper rising. "Of course they have names. My golden retriever back home is named Charlie, and he's smarter than half the politicians I've worked with. He can sense when I'm stressed, alerts me to dangers I can't perceive, and has saved my daughter's life twice by detecting her medical emergencies before any of our technology could." "Impossible," scoffed High Magistrate Veldorna from the Orion Stellar Commonwealth. "No non-sapient creature could possess such cognitive abilities. You're clearly projecting emotional significance onto simple biological responses." The evidence presented by Earth's delegation was systematically dismissed. Footage of dogs performing rescue operations was labeled as trained behavioral mimicry. Videos of cats detecting illness in their human companions were explained as primitive sensory responses to chemical changes. Documentation of the therapeutic benefits of animal companionship was reduced to psychological delusion masquerading as medical treatment. Dr. Patricia Williams, Earth's chief xenobiologist, stood to address the assembly. Honored delegates, our research spanning centuries has documented the remarkable intelligence and emotional capacity of Earth's companion animals. Dogs demonstrate problem-solving skills, emotional intelligence, and loyalty that surpasses many species I've encountered in this chamber. Cats show independence, strategic thinking, and environmental awareness that should command respect, not dismissal. Enough of this fantasy, Chancellor Vexthari declared, her voice cutting through Dr. Williams' presentation. The Galactic Council has reviewed the evidence submitted by Earth's representatives, and our conclusion is unanimous. The practice of pet ownership represents a fundamental violation of the Universal Declaration of Species Rights. These creatures you claim to love are clearly suffering under your dominion, regardless of your emotional rationalizations. Director Thompson stood again, his voice strained with frustration. You're making a decision about relationships you don't understand, involving species you've never interacted with, based on assumptions that are completely wrong. Senator Krolfen's carapace flashed with patterns of amused condescension. Director Thompson, we've analyzed your planet's history extensively. Humans have a documented pattern of exploitation and domination over other species. Your treatment of these pets is simply another manifestation of humanity's inherent aggressive tendencies disguised as affection. The chamber's attention turned to the central viewing platform as Chancellor Vexthari prepared to announce the verdict. The Cosmic Assembly hereby declares the practice of pet ownership to be illegal under interstellar law. Earth has 30 standard galactic days to release all enslaved creatures to their natural habitats and cease this barbaric practice immediately. And if we refuse? Director Thompson asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. High Magistrate Veldorna smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both superiority and menace across species lines. Then the Galactic Council will intervene directly to liberate these oppressed beings. Our liberation fleet stands ready to enforce this humanitarian mandate. The implications hit Director Thompson like a physical blow. He thought of his own golden retriever, Charlie, waiting at home, probably asleep on the couch despite being technically banned from the furniture. He thought of millions of families across Earth whose lives were intertwined with their beloved companion animals in ways these alien representatives couldn't begin to comprehend. Ambassador Zixtal added with what might have been satisfaction. We've prepared rehabilitation facilities across 17 uninhabited worlds, where these creatures can be properly cared for while learning to exist independently as nature intended. You want to separate families, Dr. Williams said quietly, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent chamber. You're talking about forcibly removing beloved family members from homes where they've lived for generations, taking them to alien worlds where they'll be alone and terrified. We're talking about justice, Chancellor Vexthari replied firmly. The oppressed deserve freedom, regardless of whether their oppressors have convinced themselves that slavery is love. As the Assembly prepared to formalize the ban, Director Thompson realized that no amount of explanation or evidence would change their minds. The alien delegates had decided that humanity's relationship with their companion animals was fundamentally wrong, and nothing Earth could say would alter that judgment. The vote proceeded with devastating predictability. 47 civilizations in favor of the ban. 0 opposed, with only Earth abstaining from a decision about their own world. The session concluded with Chancellor Vexthari's final proclamation. The Liberation Fleet will arrive at Earth in 30 rotations to begin the humane relocation process. We trust humanity will cooperate with this necessary intervention for the greater good of all sentient life in the galaxy. As the alien delegates filed out of the chamber, many expressing satisfaction at having struck a blow for universal justice, Director Thompson remained in his seat, staring at the holographic images of Earth still playing on the chamber's displays. Somewhere in those images was a golden retriever named Charlie, completely unaware that the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy had just declared war on the simple act of a dog loving his family. The countdown to liberation had begun. And Director Thompson suspected that these alien representatives had absolutely no idea what they were about to unleash. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had spent 15 years studying interspecies behavioral dynamics across 12 different star systems, and she had never been more certain that her colleagues were making the biggest mistake in galactic history. As the Cosmic Assembly delegates celebrated their unanimous decision in the crystal garden surrounding the main chamber, Elena found herself standing alone in the observation deck, watching the holographic feeds from Earth with growing dread. Dr. Rodriguez, came a familiar voice behind her. Ambassador Thekmer from the Sirius Binary Collective approached, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with what Elena had learned to recognize as curiosity. Unlike most of his fellow delegates, Thekmer had actually taken the time to study Elena's research on human-animal relationships. "You seem troubled by today's proceedings." Elena turned to face the ambassador, her expression grave. "Trouble doesn't begin to cover it, Thekmer. We're about to commit an act of unprecedented cruelty based on fundamental misunderstandings about Earth's ecosystem. Surely you're being dramatic," Thekmer replied, though his tendrils dimmed slightly. "The Council's xenobiological analysis teams are the finest in the galaxy. Their conclusions about these enslaved creatures are based on solid scientific methodology." Elena pulled up her personal research files, projecting a three-dimensional analysis that had taken her years to compile. "Look at this data, Thekmer. Really look at it. The neurochemical bonds between humans and their companion animals aren't one-sided dominance patterns. They're mutual, symbiotic relationships that have fundamentally altered both species at the genetic level." The holographic display showed complex molecular structures, brain scan comparisons, and evolutionary timelines that painted a picture vastly different from the Council's official report. When a human interacts with their dog, both species release identical neurochemicals associated with parent-child bonding. The dog's cortisol levels decrease in the presence of their human family, while the human's blood pressure and stress hormones normalize when petting their companion. Ambassador Thekmer studied the data with increasing interest. "This suggests a level of biological integration that our team somehow missed." "They didn't miss it," Elena said bitterly. "They ignored it because it doesn't fit their preconceived notions about how interspecies relationships should work." Dr. Yilveth from the Altair Science Consortium dismissed 3 peer-reviewed studies on this exact phenomenon because they challenged her theoretical framework. Elena's projection shifted to show footage from Earth's emergency response centers. "Look at the search and rescue operations where dogs locate survivors buried under collapsed buildings. The canines aren't being forced to perform these tasks. They're driven by an instinctual need to help their human partners, even at personal risk. Our analysis shows their brain patterns during these operations mirror those of human emergency responders dedicated, focused, emotionally invested in successful outcomes." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "The Council claims these are merely trained responses," Thekmer observed, though his tone suggested growing doubt. "Then explain this," Elena said, switching to medical facility recordings. "Therapy dogs in human hospitals consistently detect seizures, heart episodes, and diabetic emergencies before any technological monitoring system. A golden retriever named Max in Seattle correctly identified 37 medical crises over 2 years with 0 false positives. His accuracy rate exceeded our most advanced diagnostic AI by 18%. The ambassador's bioluminescent patterns shifted to what Elena recognized as deep concern. If these creatures possess such remarkable abilities, why didn't our advanced survey teams document them? Elena's laugh was bitter. Because they spent exactly 72 hours on Earth, all of it in controlled government facilities where the animals were deliberately kept separated from the survey teams to avoid contamination of objective analysis. They never witnessed a single authentic human-animal interaction. She pulled up another set of files, these showing communication patterns that had taken her months to decode. The relationships go far beyond simple coexistence, Thekmer. These animals have developed sophisticated methods of interspecies communication. They read human facial expressions, vocal tones, and body language with accuracy that surpasses most galactic translation protocols. More remarkably, humans have learned to interpret animal communications with equal precision. The projection showed a compilation of everyday interactions, a cat leading its human to a leaking pipe that would have caused structural damage if undetected, a dog refusing to allow its elderly human companion to go for a walk on a day when the human's cardiac monitor later revealed dangerous arrhythmias. A bird alerting its human family to a gas leak by repeatedly flying to the source and vocalizing distress. These aren't trained behaviors, Elena emphasized. These are thinking, caring beings making independent decisions to protect and assist their chosen families. Ambassador Thekmer had gone completely still, a sign of deep contemplation in his species. Dr. Rodriguez, if your analysis is correct, then the Liberation Fleet isn't planning a rescue operation. They're planning to systematically destroy millions of family units. Exactly, Elena replied, her voice heavy with frustration. And when those animals are relocated to rehabilitation worlds, they'll be dying of grief. Dogs especially, they're pack animals who have evolved to consider their human families as their pack. Separating them is equivalent to psychological torture. Elena activated a final projection, showing her most disturbing research findings. I've been monitoring them. Preliminary reports from the rehabilitation facility preparations. The alien staff have been instructed to maintain professional distance from the relocated animals to avoid perpetuating unhealthy dependency patterns. They're planning to warehouse these creatures in sterile environments with minimal emotional contact. That would be. Thekmer paused, searching for words his translation matrix could handle. Catastrophic for pack-bonding species. It gets worse, Elena continued. The facilities are designed based on the assumption that these animals will quickly adapt to natural behaviors once removed from human influence. But many of these species have been domestically partnered with humans for thousands of generations. Their idea of natural behavior includes human companionship. We're not just separating families, we're condemning millions of beings to psychological disintegration. Elena brought up one final set of data that she had been hoping not to share. Thekmer, I've run predictive models based on forced separation. Studies from Earth's own history. The mortality rate for relocated companion animals will exceed 60% within the first galactic cycle. Most will die not from physical causes, but from depression-induced immune system failure. The ambassador's entire form had shifted to deep blue, a color Elena had never seen from his species. Dr. Rodriguez, have you presented this information to the Council? I tried, Elena said, exhaustion evident in her voice. Chancellor Vexthari declared my research emotionally compromised due to prolonged exposure to the subjects. High Magistrate, Veldorna suggested that I had developed an unhealthy attachment to Earth's primitive practices. They refused to consider that their fundamental assumptions might be wrong. Elena turned back to the observation windows, where Earth hung like a blue marble in the vast darkness. Somewhere down there, millions of families are going about their daily lives, completely unaware that their beloved companions are about to be stolen from them in the name of liberation. Children who've grown up with their dogs, elderly humans whose cats are their only source of comfort, disabled individuals whose service animals are their lifelines to independence, all of them are about to have their hearts broken by aliens who think they're doing them a favor. Ambassador Thekmer moved closer to the window, his form now pulsing with patterns Elena had learned indicated determination. What can be done? The Liberation Fleet launches in 28 rotations. I don't know, Elena admitted. The Council is convinced they're preventing a humanitarian crisis. They can't conceive of a reality where their intervention will cause infinitely more suffering than the situation they think they're correcting. They're about to learn that human-animal bonds can't be broken by decree, and that some relationships transcend their understanding of how the universe should work. As they stood in silence, watching Earth rotate peacefully in the distance, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to discover something it wasn't prepared for. The Liberation Fleet would arrive expecting to find grateful creatures eager for freedom. Instead, they would encounter beings whose loyalty, courage, and love for their human families would challenge everything the galactic community thought they knew about the nature of consciousness, choice, and the bonds that truly matter in the universe. Elena had tried to warn them. Soon, they would learn for themselves just how wrong they had been about Earth's most remarkable relationships. 6 months after what historians would later call the Golden Retriever Incident, the rebuilt Cosmic Assembly Hall buzzed with an energy entirely different from its previous sessions. Gone were the rigid hierarchies and dismissive attitudes that had once defined galactic politics. In their place sat beings who had learned humility the hard way, many of them still bearing the psychological scars of their encounter with Earth's companion animals. Chancellor Vexthari, her once proud bearing now marked by genuine respect, called the session to order. Citizens of the galaxy, we gather today not to pass judgment, but to formally acknowledge our profound mistakes and establish new protocols for interspecies relations, based on understanding rather than assumption. The central holographic display showed scenes from across human space, children playing with dogs in zero-gravity stations, cats serving as therapy companions in deep space hospitals, and service animals helping disabled humans navigate the complexities of interstellar travel. What had once seemed primitive to the galactic community now appeared revolutionary, a level of interspecies cooperation that surpassed anything achieved in their advanced civilizations. Ambassador Thekmer, now serving as the newly appointed Director of Interspecies Relations, stood to address the Assembly. The events of the past months have taught us that intelligence and consciousness manifest in ways our previous scientific frameworks couldn't recognize. We nearly committed genocide against billions of sentient beings because we couldn't conceive of choice-based partnerships between species. Senator Crowlton, his crystalline carapace now permanently etched with patterns of what his species expressed as deep shame, spoke quietly. We assumed that because these relationships didn't match our models of civilization, they must be primitive. We learned that love, loyalty, and mutual cooperation can exist without formal treaties, written contracts, or official recognition. The most dramatic change was visible in High Magistrate Veldorna, who had requested permission to address the Assembly despite her species' traditional silence during formal proceedings. I speak for those who participated in the Liberation Fleet, she began, her form trembling with emotion. We went to Earth expecting to free enslaved creatures, and instead discovered that we were attempting to destroy families. The beings we thought we were rescuing fought us not because they were defending their oppressors, but because they were protecting their loved ones. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's Chief Ambassador for Interspecies Affairs, had been invited to present her research findings to the full Assembly. The same data that had been dismissed months earlier was now received with rapt attention and growing amazement. What we've learned, Dr. Rodriguez explained, is that the relationships between humans and their companion animals represent an evolutionary achievement that most civilizations never reach. These bonds transcended species barriers through mutual choice, shared experience, and genuine affection. No laws were written, no contracts signed. Two entirely different forms of consciousness simply decided they were better together than apart. The assembly watched in fascination as footage played showing the depth of these relationships. A border collie named Stella, who had learned to communicate using hundreds of vocabulary buttons, holding complex conversations with her human family about concepts ranging from weather preferences to emotional states. A therapy cat named Winston, who had developed his own system for detecting PTSD episodes in veterans, providing comfort with a precision that amazed medical professionals. But perhaps most remarkably, Dr. Rodriguez continued, these animals demonstrate something our advanced civilizations have struggled to achieve: unconditional positive regard across species lines. They don't care about technological capabilities, political systems, or cultural differences. They love their human families simply for who they are. Ambassador Zixtal, her translucent form now glowing with patterns of wonder rather than indignation, spoke up. Dr. Rodriguez, our sociologists have been studying the human concept of found family. It appears that these companion animals represent the purest form of this phenomenon. Beings who choose to love and be loved regardless of biological origin. Exactly. Dr. Rodriguez confirmed. And that's why the Liberation Fleet's intervention was so traumatic for everyone involved. You weren't just separating pets from owners. You were tearing apart chosen families who had committed their lives to each other. General Mordek, his energy staff now permanently dimmed in respect, addressed the assembly with obvious difficulty. Our military analysis of the incident has revealed that we misunderstood the nature of the resistance we encountered. We interpreted the animals' protective behaviors as aggression, when in fact they were demonstrating the highest form of courage, the willingness to defend loved ones against impossible odds. The general activated footage from the London incident that had become legendary. Across the galaxy, a golden retriever named Max, who had positioned himself between a squadron of alien soldiers and a group of human children, maintaining his protective stance even when faced with weapons that could have vaporized him instantly. This being, General Mordek said quietly, displayed tactical awareness, personal courage, and moral clarity that would be commendable in any of our finest warriors. Yet he was motivated not by duty or command, but by love. Chancellor Vexthari nodded solemnly. The footage from across Earth during the liberation attempt shows thousands of similar acts. Animals who chose to defend their families, humans who risked their lives to protect their companions, and civilians who organized resistance movements not out of political ideology, but out of refusal to abandon their beloved animals. Dr. Patricia Williams, now serving as director of the newly established Galactic Institute for Interspecies Studies, presented her latest findings. Our ongoing research has documented over 200 different ways that Earth's companion animals contribute to human society. They serve as medical alert systems, emotional support providers, search and rescue specialists, agricultural partners, therapeutic aides, and environmental monitors. But beyond their practical contributions, they provide something that our advanced technologies cannot: the simple presence of another consciousness that chooses to share life's journey. The transformation in the galactic community's understanding was perhaps best illustrated by the formal requests now flooding Earth's diplomatic channels. 17 different civilizations had submitted applications to participate in companion animal exchange programs. The Silicon Confluence had requested permission to study Earth's therapy animal protocols for their deep space exploration missions. The Andromeda Coalition wanted to establish joint research stations where their scientists could observe human-animal relationships firsthand. Most remarkably, Dr. Williams continued, we've discovered that several of your own civilizations have suppressed similar relationships in their histories. The archaeological evidence suggests that many species abandoned companion relationships in favor of technological solutions, not realizing what they were giving up. This revelation had sparked widespread cultural introspection across the galaxy. Ancient texts were being re-examined, archaeological sites were being re-evaluated, and several species had begun searching for descendants of their own companion. Animals that might still exist on forgotten worlds. Ambassador Thekmor concluded the session with a proposal that would have been unthinkable months earlier. I move that we establish the Universal Charter for Companion Relationships, recognizing the right of all sentient beings to form chosen family bonds across species lines. Let us ensure that the galaxy never again mistakes love for oppression, or assumes that our understanding of consciousness is complete. The vote was unanimous, with every civilization present supporting the charter. More significantly, they had also voted to establish memorial gardens on each of their home worlds, honoring the Earth animals who had died during the liberation. Attempt beings who had taught the galaxy's most advanced civilizations that some bonds transcend politics, species, and understanding. As the session concluded, Chancellor Vex Thari made one final announcement. The Cosmic Assembly hereby apologizes to Earth and all its companion species for our profound failure to recognize the beauty and importance of your relationships. We came to liberate, but instead we learned what true freedom looks like. The choice to love and be loved, regardless of the form that love takes. The golden retriever named Max, now an honorary galactic ambassador, wagged his tail from his special seat in the Earth delegation area. Somehow, that simple expression of joy and contentment said more about the nature of happiness and cooperation than thousands of years of galactic political theory ever had. The universe had learned that sometimes the most advanced civilizations needed to be taught by a dog that love, loyalty, and family aren't about species, they're about choice, commitment, and the courage to care for someone different from yourself. And that was a lesson worth more than all the technology in the galaxy. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.